I started volunteering with this organisation about 8 years ago, um, because I was retiring from my previous job, and I thought, well, I think I'll train for something else. Um, so I did, but although in fact I did volunteer about 40 or 50 years ago, I taught in Africa. So this was like coming home. That's a nice question. When I was a child, um, I read a lovely book called The Secret Garden. I think actually it was read to me by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And it was all about surprise and people being nice to each other and about gardening. And actually, I now love gardening. And I've discovered that one of my students also loves gardening. So that's a very nice connection. Potatoes.
In what way?
Well, because this particular student loves gardening, but she doesn't know how to use the internet. So I, with a little bit of help together, taught her how to order things on the internet so she could order seeds. So she grew seeds, and we were talking about potatoes, and I said, I'm growing potatoes. Would you like some? So she said yes. And so I brought in some potatoes that I'd sprouted, and we discussed about how to grow them. And it was all very good for her English. But as a result of learning how to use the internet, she's now ordered a greenhouse, which I'm not sure is necessarily a good thing. Um, but she loves growing, and it's actually been very useful because of this experience. I'm now taught her how to order shopping online because all her family have disabilities. So if she was ever ill, she couldn't do the shopping, but she could do it online. So potatoes have been quite useful. Well, I do love my students. I think because I've had several, I've had lots now. They're very brave. They're very interesting. I've learnt a lot from them. And I find it very stimulating because for each person, you have to find what they're interested in, and then they really want to communicate. And that makes it better for both of you. Well, the most challenging, they were rehoused in one bedroom with two children, and social services education department couldn't find schools, so I had the children and the mother in one room, and I needed to teach her how to read. So I provided games and activities for the children on one bed, and then I tried to teach the adult mother on the other bed. And then I tried to get games that were suitable for both levels so that we could all play English games together at the end. And actually that ended well because she got rehoused and the children went to school. And I think she learned how to read. It's very difficult, particularly as you get older. I think as children assimilate language very quickly and often overtake their parents. And particularly older people, I found that myself, it is difficult. The important thing is to find something that they're really interested in, because if they're really interested in it, they want to communicate. And in a way, in English, if you can communicate, even if it's not perfect, you don't have to have all the words, but you just have to get the meaning across. And then once you start, you get the confidence. Then the more confidence you have, the more you do, the more language you have, the more you can speak, the more you can understand. Then you've got the words, then you can do the reading, and last of all, if you want to, you can do the writing. But that's the order, to be really, really want to communicate first. Well, one student was completely unsupported in the refuge, and she was about to give birth. And she didn't know how the system worked. And I was concerned that she'd go into labour in the refuge, where she didn't know what the address was, for obviously security reasons, or that she'd be caught short in the street and she'd have to be able to explain where she was if an ambulance was going to come and collect her. So we did a lot of stuff about birth and health visitors and the emergency services, all that sort of stuff. And in the end, of course, she had a cesarean, which was planned, and she was in hospital. But I think she appreciated the safety of being able to explain her situation. Mm-hmm. I have one student with serious mental health problems, and I think she was a suicide risk, actually. So there was a lot there, language about health and hospitals and the sort of things to do to make you feel better, to take exercise, to go out and walk in the park, to talk to people, what to do in A&E, how to contact the GP, who wasn't very helpful. So that was a whole area. And then a student I have also with a lot of disabled members of the family. There's a lot there about explaining symptoms on the phone. The phone is particularly difficult for beginners. And we'd have games about that. And doing this business of she would have to turn one way and I would face in the opposite direction. And so we would have to have a conversation at the doctor's on the phone with her not being able to see me. So that was quite fun, actually. She liked that. No. And of course, because you are doing other things, language does come in. I've made, with some students, I've made little books which sort of show a particular grammar point, and they'd be pop-up books. So then you've got all the language about folding and turning and position, and as well as the actual language. And I enjoy doing that, actually. So, and drawing, that's another thing. You know, you'd be doing stuff about gardens, maybe, or spring, and you describe something and they'd have to draw it. And then they would have something, a picture that you would have to draw. And then you could laugh about it together and discuss the language. So all sorts of nice things. Such fun.